talk about 9/11. Why? Because 9/11 directly has to do with what's happening today. Directly has to do with Israel, because Israel did it. And it's how they infiltrate us. You know, it was a jump off point for a very significant change in our everyday American lives. And I don't understand. Like, the thing that's always so interesting to me is when people act like you not necessarily believing the narrative, or good morning, Matt, or being told that, you know, that if you ask questions about the narrative, you can say, you know what, I believe the narrative, okay, I believe you. But even with that, there's still some questions I have. That's what makes you a bad person. That's the shit that's just so... And that's consistent. That's what they do with Israel. That's what they do with religion. That's what they do with politics. You know, that's what they do with the Hollywood pedo stuff. Oh, Epstein list. The first phase of the Epstein list has been released. Just that in itself should tell you what you need to know. Why are they releasing it in phases? Why aren't they just giving it to us? I mean, it's just so stupid. And stupid is the key. You have to be stupid. Like, people are so... We've been made to be so stupid that we can't hear that. Like people... If you say someone is stupid, especially regarding a specific thing, they get all upset and they act like that's just impossible. They were just researching that thing yesterday. But it's not true. Every time somebody comes on here and wants to argue about submarines, they don't know shit about submarines. They literally, they just, my uncle worked on one, blah, blah. They say dumb shit, but when it comes to the actual factual of it, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Neither did I. You know, I when I went into this, I thought, hey, you know what? Submarine kind of seemed weird. I wonder if that fits into the same narrative as everything else. I wonder if there's a goofy story behind it. And I was like more than shocked by how flimsy and bullshit the official narrative is, and why we actually do we just accept it. It's just like everything else. We accept some narrative that's given to us without any real reason to accept it, or even, you know, contrary to our own experience, we accept the narrative that we're given. And I you know, I don't understand why anybody wants to be like that anymore. I don't know. This is really one of the, like, crucial parts of the argument. Trying to figure out, why is it someone like me, who remembers 9/11 vividly, why someone like me sees what I see, what they're showing us, what, you know, what's available, and ask questions, where, you know, the majority of you just eat up and, oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, That's the thing. It doesn't even matter what we're talking about. If you've come here because you've decided you're mad at me and I don't make any sense and I'm this and I'm that, blah, blah, blah. You're not, it doesn't matter what I say to you. Even though truth is sexy and truth will bring you back even when you say you're not going to subscribe anymore, right, Matt? Truth is sexy and you're drawn to it. So you're gonna you're gonna keep watching. But like I don't understand why your own inability to argue against what I'm saying doesn't convince you that, hey, maybe you might need to adjust some things. So 9/11. 9/11, I was, what, like 21? 22? Yeah, 22. I was in San Diego. I was working construction at the time, and our day started at 7, but we had to get there at like 6:45. We got to the shop at 6:45 to get our assignment, so then we could get on the road by 7. And, lots of days, I mean, if you know construction, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you just don't get it. But there are plenty of guys that will show up. If we're supposed to be there at 6:45, they'll get there at like 6:30, Everybody just gets there early, and then they just sort of hang out. It's like, especially in construction, you've been stuck with your wife and kids the whole time, and, you're out with the guys before you're actually working, so you can just sort of get along. Well, we were throwing the football. I remember us throwing the football. And I'm pretty sure it was Danny. Danny threw me the ball, and I caught it. And as I caught it, Brian Peterson was pulling up. And Brian had this look of terror on his face. And we were like, "What's up, dude?" And he was like, "We've just been attacked." What are you talking about? Dude, we were attacked. America was attacked. Terrorist attack. What the fuck are you talking about? So he turns on the radio and everybody gathers around and we're listening as again, it's like 9:30. It has to be earlier than that. We must have started at 6 that day, I think. And maybe got there at like 5:45. That must have been it. Because if 9/11, the towers were struck. Let's see. First tower hit 8:46 a.m. Eastern. So that would mean it had to be. Yeah, no, it would have been. No, it had to be. It had to be. I don't know. I don't remember the actual time, I guess. But the boss comes out and he's like, he must not know what's going on, or he does, but he's like, he's a construction boss. I don't give a shit if it's not affecting us. We go to work. We work. So he comes out and he says, "Look, I got enough work for everybody but one person. Who's going home?" And immediately my hand went up. Nope, me. I don't have a family. I don't have kids. I'm the douchebag here. I'll go home. I'm not going to miss any of that money. And again, this is cell phones are in their infancy, so I don't even have one yet. And so I get in the car, and my drive from the shop to the house is maybe 15, 20 minutes. And I'm listening to the radio, and I'm pretty sure the first tower fell on my way home. Maybe. I don't know. But when I got home, I called my mom. And I was talking to my mom, watching it on TV. I turned on my big tube TV. And I'm watching it. And talking to my mom, and she's like freaking out. And all of a sudden, one of the towers fell. And she's going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And she's like freaking out. She's saying shit like, we need to just round all those people up and put them on an island somewhere and bomb them. Like, because already they're talking about it's Arabs. And I was like, damn, Mom. I said it to her like, geez, Mom, what if it would have been a black person or even a halfie that did it? Would you want all of us rounded up and put on an island and bombed? She was like, no, this is crazy. And she was just so upset. And my mom wasn't good at dealing with shit like that. And it's funny because that's the end of my memory on that day. I don't know what happened after that. You know, I assume I talked to my parents and whatnot. We watched the shit. I don't know if this happened to be like this little window where I was actually alone. My girlfriend and I had broken up and didn't have any roommates or anything. Pretty sure I was just alone. And it was just crazy. It was, you know. And I was just as affected as every American, you know. There was no conspiracy theory in my head. You know, the Arabs did it. We are under attack. We need to be unified as Americans. They hate our freedom. All this shit. There was no internet back then. At least not like, I mean, there was internet, but not like it is. And it was just, I end up writing a song called Patriotism. I wonder if I can even find that song. I don't even know where all that shit is anymore. Let's see. My Head Radio. Oh, that's really weird. Wonder why that comes up. My Head Radio songs used to be on YouTube somewhere, but I guess they're not anymore. Interesting. My Head Radio, that was my previous band. And I named it that because I said to my producer at the time, man, it's like you hear My Head Radio when you're making the songs. And then I was like, yeah, that's a good name. It's weird when you're the sole creative force behind a group project and, you know, just weird how it works out. But apparently there's no more My Head Radio songs available on the YouTube. That's just strange. I remember at one point thinking, like, we were getting so many views and listens every day on multiple different platforms and whatnot that used to exist, that even if I stopped promoting, there's no way this shit would ever fail, because look at how it's just every day we're getting hundreds, thousands of views. We used to belong to this IMC Music or some shit like that. And for years, like there was 26,000, 56,000 some songs uploaded to this stream, to this platform, and it would be broken down into, you know, country and rap and hip hop, and we had songs trending in the top. Like, we had the 3 or 4 of the top hip hop tracks on the platform for quite some time, for years. or we would have top 10. Like we had a lot of, it's so crazy to think no one ever called. No AR people, ANR people, no people that know how to make money off of people ever called. And we were that fucking popular. Oh, it's crazy. But I wrote Patriotism in like 2005-ish. And it's basically about, maybe 2004. It's basically, it came about because there was a story in the news about a soldier who was supposed, the soldiers, when the president gets off of the helicopter or whatever, there's always soldiers standing right there, and they salute him as he comes down the stairs or gets off the whatever. And one of the soldiers had refused to salute George. And I wrote the song Patriotism about, like, of course we all hate that fucking piece of shit, right? He sucks. But in this, especially in this time, this day and age, we need to show unified support for our president. Even if we didn't pick him, even if we didn't vote for that one, we this is our country, and we need to stand strong together to not show weakness to these other countries who are clearly attacking us. That was my thought process. And I at the time, I've always hated religion, but I didn't know nearly as much. I didn't know about Hollywood being as bad as it is. I mean, we always knew Hollywood was a bad place and pedos and shit, but not like, now. And I remember I was in Virginia at the time. That was when I wrote Patriotism. And this is when MySpace first was created. And I stumbled across, I was on MySpace. I was in Virginia. I was lonely. I was in a horrible relationship. And I was just desperate to try to find some sort of connection. And so I'm looking through this new platform called MySpace that I don't really get it. Like, it's kind of weird. But I realize I can, I guess I can find people, like old friends and stuff. And I start thinking of names that I might want to contact. And I'm not even really sure why, but I found this person, Scott Hars, who he was my best friend in 8th grade. And just like so many people in my life, weird shit happens. And, like with Scott, he suddenly went racist on me. And he starts flying Confederate flags. And
why was this? Did you find this somewhere?
No. Must have walked its happy ass over there. But I find Scott's page, and I remember my initial reaction to it was like, oh man, not you too, or something like that. Like, I'm not sure why I had that not you too thing, because I don't remember anybody talking bad about 9/11 or questioning it. I don't remember having come across anyone like that yet. But Scott's page was like dedicated to it. And he had all these thermite videos and question 9/11. And I remember just initially, like, again, like, oh man, what are you doing? We can't go against our government like that. It makes us look weak. Hey, what's this? What is this? What is this? Thermite. And I just started looking, and I spent, a few minutes on his page, and just like 200 proofs the earth is not a spinning ball. Actually, it was under the dome at the time. Just like the earth shape argument. When I finally looked into it, it was minutes. It was within minutes. I was like, oh shit. I think we're being lied to. Like if we're not being lied to, this evidence shouldn't exist. Just that simple. You know, if the earth is round, we shouldn't have a earth-shaped argument. That shit should be easy to figure out. And the thing is, you know, the round earth idea it's dumber than you think it is. But because you've never been encouraged to question it, you don't. But I remember like, you know, there's a lot of shit that happened, especially during that time in my life. I was really oxys. I was in a horrible relationship. Like there's very like a lot of shit that does stand out is really negative shit. And it's hard. I'm hard pressed to remember good times or you know, or much else other than like fighting and drugs and whatnot. But I do remember that day. I remember it well, actually. You know, I remember I don't remember that day. I remember that instance. Sitting in front of the computer in the little den area. You know, the computer that was, I don't know, we had it because of my work, but it was way better than it was a way better computer than we needed. But my life got turned upside down. And it's like, you know, you could say, oh, it's all video, blah, blah, blah. Well, I've seen endless videos about Christianity. I've seen endless videos. I searched 9/11 this morning on YouTube. And, you know, I don't even know, like, it's hard because, you know, if you search 9/11 on YouTube, all you're going to find is, like, official, this is the narrative. If you question it, you're crazy shit. And the video I stumbled on or settled on was one. It was the 9/11 iceberg explained. It's like a 3-hour long video. And I kind of knew instantly, like, this video is 3 hours long, 15,000 comments, over 1 million views. This video is not telling any secrets. Or if it does, it tells a secret and then tries to make you look like an idiot for thinking it. Like it's, but I made it about a half hour into the video, and it was just unlike getting that feeling where you're like, oh shit, I think I was wrong. I know I'm seeing the truth. Like you guys get when you watch my stuff, right? I immediately was like, this is just bullshit. Like this, I could just tell this guy. Again, it's hard for me to. If you have thousands and thousands of views, if you're allowed to exist successfully, you must be doing something that they want you to do. And if there's anything that proves that crazy theory correct, it's my own personal feed. You know, I'm not talking about, I hate talking about other people's perspective because there's always a possibility that it has their spin on it. It's not the truth. But when it comes to my feed and what I've personally experienced over the years, I mean, that's firsthand. You can't tell me anything because I'm the one that lived it. And when you realize, like, there's really only one person that truly knows, 80%, 70% of what's what's gone on, what's happened. And that's my wife. But she doesn't, she doesn't know all of it. And I don't know all of the stuff she's gotten. That's for sure. Because we just don't, the messages and all that shit, we don't share. Sometimes we laugh about them with each other, but most of the time we don't even read them. But when you realize the incredible amount of effort that it must have taken more than one person and somebody with, not expertise, but access, technical access that most of us don't have. When you look at my Facebook page, and for like 2 or 3 years, we had some sort of restriction that we weren't allowed to even invite. Nobody was allowed to invite people to our page. I've never even heard of that before. I never heard anybody else say that before. And like if I go live on Facebook, I'll get this notification at the bottom that says slow connection. I have no idea why. I don't have a slow connection when I go live anywhere else. But for some reason, if I go live on the Facebook page, whether it's from my phone, my wife's phone, whatever, the live feed barely works. And it says slow connection. And the thing is, like, my experience is the opposite of what people experience on social media. Look, even if I don't know how I would even do that, right? Like, let's just say my whole following, backing was all these atheists and all these people who, hated religion too. Well, undoubtedly, especially numbers-wise, for every atheist I have, I'm going to have 10, 20 Christians that are going to, one thing or another. But even if I alienated all my atheist viewers and said, oh, I suddenly believe in Jesus, well, that is going to be, that's going to bring a whole new section of people into the story. So there's like, I mean, when we would release songs, I would feel like disappointed if the song didn't at least get 1,000 views within the first day. That's how consistently popular we were. And the only thing that's happened since that time is I've gotten better. I've gotten smarter. And most of the shit that I was talking about that was crazy conspiracy theory is now true. Or at least coming true. And so, I look back at my feed here. February 28th was the last day I was allowed to have reasonable viewers. I went from a couple thousand on February 28th to 288 the next day. We didn't have 29th today, or February 8th, sorry, February 8th. Was it February? Whatever. I think it was February 8th. Maybe it's January 28th, but February 8th. And, this is how, we knew it would work. This is what happens. If you were to see my Facebook page circa 2019, because 2020 is when I sealed my fate. 2020 is when the New Year's of 2020, I made, because I don't believe in New Year's resolutions and shit like that. That's just dumb. But sort of jokingly said, my New Year's resolution is going to be that I no longer get distracted by chemtrails and vaccines and all these other things we're supposed to focus on. Because I believe stopping the pedo stuff is the number one, priority. And I didn't realize necessarily at the time yet sort of what was going on, but I knew that if we cut off Israel, we could use that $3.8 billion to try to our best to eradicate these pedos.
Did they end up taking her?
Hmm? And so when I said that I was going to start focusing on Israel and essentially the Jays, I mean, it was immediate. I had predicted COVID. And I told you guys something COVID-esque was going to happen. Maybe a month before, the story became big. I knew something was on the horizon. I could just tell by the way things were setting up. Not some psychic premonition or anything. There's patterns, and you see the patterns. Oh, did you guys see that measles is... Trump's in office and measles are a thing. 2019, we were all supposed to run out and get vaccinated because a measles outbreak had happened. Mainly in 2 J neighborhoods in the New Jersey, Philly area. It's either Philly or New Jersey. But it's the same. It's actually Philly, I guess. It's the same 2, it's where the synagogue shooting took place. That same neighborhood was one of the neighborhoods that was affected by this measles outbreak, where some 1,200 cases hit the community and 860 of them were part of this one J group. So I found this yesterday. This was a news story from yesterday. ABC News 24/7. See, you don't give your torque to it. So this is the narrative. Remember, this is what they did a year before. Okay. Understand this. They tried to pull a measles epidemic in 2019 to get us all to run out and get the poke. And, we were like, no, that's stupid. Why would we? The measles is like a week and a half inconvenience. You're going to, got the measles, can't do much. But it's nobody's going to die from measles unless they have a completely, quote, compromised immune system, which again is just bullshit. But check out this narrative they give us, right? 2 measles cases linked to infected child in Bergen County. You might want to listen to this, chubby girl. Bergen County, New Jersey. Several weeks after an unvaccinated child in Bergen County tested positive for measles. Who do you think that unvaccinated child is? I would be willing to bet more than likely that unvaccinated child was a J, which is why they hide the identity from us. Because, especially the Hasidic Jays, they don't vaccinate. That's not part of their thing. But unvaccinated child in Bergen County tested positive for measles. Health officials now confirm 2 of the child's family members who were also unvaccinated have also contracted the highly infectious disease. Highly infectious disease. It comes as a separate outbreak in Texas led to the death of an unvaccinated child. And health experts say it's a troubling trend. This doesn't sound familiar to you guys? I mean, this is literally the same fucking narrative they gave us before. What I never understand is, okay, so let's just say you get your vaccine, right? What's the purpose of getting this foreign substance? Well, actually, the thing you're supposedly vaccinating against is what they give you. Like, people think that vaccines are like, this recipe, this magical recipe that they, like taking lemon oil or some shit to combat sickness. No. Vaccines are generally a it's either a live, they call it a live virus, or a dead virus. But like, the whatever it is, say it's measles, they will use formaldehyde to deaden the virus and then inject it into you so your body learns how to fight it off better than if you just got, like, it's, the whole concept really doesn't make much sense. Like, it more just sounds like they're giving you whatever it is. But if the poke is supposed to protect you, but you're still scared of people that don't have the poke, what's the purpose of the poke? I just don't understand that one. Like, if anything, the people that get the poke should be running around like, you can't get me sick now. I got the poke. I'm fucking better than you. It should give you confidence knowing that you are now protected. That's why I risked getting GBS, which is Guillain-Barré syndrome, or polio, same thing. I risked my child getting it. I risked who knows what future health complications may come from any of this. From these companies that have a track record of really doing horrible things and then not being held responsible for it. For you to overlook all that and put you and your family at risk, supposedly under the guise of being now protected, like, again, I just don't, what are you then scared of? When you have on thick-ass rubber gloves, are you still scared of sticking your hand in something those rubber gloves are designed to protect against? No. Yeah, rubber gloves on, that's fine. I mean, sure, if the shit gets above the glove, then maybe you're in trouble. But that's what the glove is there for. It's to protect your hands. Anyway, infectious disease. It comes as a separate outbreak in Texas, led to the death of an unvaccinated child. A child in Texas died from measles, apparently. The vaccine is a personal decision, but also it affects other people as well. So when you don't vaccinate yourself, if there's any loved ones that you're around, or just people in general that you're around, you could potentially infect them and cause them to have complications, says Dr. Matt Skro with the Bergen New Bridge Medical Center. Officials say the child in Bergen, they can't even be bothered to get the fucking types right. The child in Bergen County visited 3 different medical facilities while infected, potentially exposing others during the dates and times listed. So, why was this child that was infected with measles visiting multiple hospitals? 2/8/25 at 12:15 p.m. to 4 p.m. Prompt MD urgent care in New Jersey. But see, this is the stuff like, it's interesting that they're doing it this. They just learned their lesson. 2020 COVID was the trial run. That was not that was not the real show. You know, they're not going to have Trump in at the last year of the real show. That's the trial run, getting him ready to see what happens. So then the next 4 years, while Biden is distracting us, we can, or he can prepare and you know, they can get everything set up so that, you know, when winter time comes around next year, they're going to do it to us again. And see, last time, so if you remember COVID correctly, you'll remember that the first case was a random unnamed woman in Northern California who is now on a ventilator because of blah, 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 blah. But this is, I always ask, why didn't they say, okay, this woman was here from this time to this time on this day, this. Anybody that was there during that time, you might want to come get checked because you might be infected. If you're concerned about an epidemic, a pandemic, that's what you would do. You know, you would inform people. You wouldn't leave this person's identity hidden so nobody know, like, well, shit, was it me? Or, you know. And then they tried to say the same things. It was a similar story in New York where a J lawyer came down with COVID. And they sort of said that he had traveled, but again, they didn't do anything like this. This is what you would think they would do, right? On 2/28, or on 2/8/2025, from 12:15 to 4 p.m. Amazing. 1/12/12, it is 12:15 to exactly 4 p.m. Prompt MD urgent care, 2059 Hudson Street, Fort Lee, New Jersey, 07024. On 2/29, or on 2/9/2025, at 11:30 a.m. to 3:45 p.m. So again, on the 8th, they went from 12:15 to 4. On the 9th, they went from 11:30 to 3:45. Literally. I mean, what a dumb story. And then on 2/9/2025, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Hackensack University Medical Center, 30 Prospect Avenue, Hackensack, New Jersey. I mean, is it that we, like, who is this kid? We need to know more. Because if this kid supposedly had the super measles, then why was he getting shuffled around from place to place? It's not like measles is hard to identify. The New Jersey Department of Health recommends that anyone who visited those locations during the specified dates and times to contact a health provider immediately. Immediately. I'd let that person sneeze in my mouth. I really wouldn't care. I'm not at all concerned about measles. Health officials, like, even if I got it, what would I care? It's measles. Get over it. The problem with measles, that it's amazing that they thought it would work. But most of us have elderly relatives and whatnot that had not just measles, but German measles growing up as a kid. A lot of us had it when we were kids. You know, everybody knows that you don't die from measles. It's just like a week and a half, fucking irritated. You got some bumps and shit. The fact that we give it to our babies is disgusting. It's just disgusting that we measles, mumps, and rubella. Right. It's fucking sick, man. I wish I would have known better. There's no way if we had kids today, there's no fucking way. They wouldn't be circumcised and they wouldn't be vaccinated. Those are the two biggest regrets I have when it comes to my children. My children weren't full vaccinated. Well, my oldest was. My wife doesn't seem to think so, but I think she's wrong. I think our oldest got all three and our youngest got 2 or 3. Health officials said people who were exposed could develop symptoms until as late as March 6th. They're telling you could be infected and not know about it for another fucking, week plus. Oh no, this is over a month, because remember it was 2/8. So 2/8 to March, they're saying it could last almost a month. You could have gotten infected by going to one of these places and you wouldn't have any symptoms for over a month. Does that make sense to you guys? Somebody who's infected with measles can be transmitting it to another person for days before they have symptoms, said Dr. Perry Helkitis, dean of the Rutgers School of Public Health. And what is really problematic about measles and the spread is that it's an airborne disease, and so that it can exist in the air for 2 hours after somebody has been in the room. That makes sense, doesn't it? The measles that has manifested or thrived in your 98.6 degree body, in the wet, blood, guts, disgusting environment that is the inside of our bodies. And it can be expelled from that environment. Wet, humid, hot, It can be expelled and then just float in the air. In a hospital of all places. What temperature do you think they keep hospitals at? They supposedly keep hospitals so cold because it prevents disease from spreading. Do you understand what they're trying to tell you measles is? They're trying to say it's this sentient being. It's invisible. It floats. And it can stay alive, waiting for you to come through and breathe it in. Oh, and then it knows. Now it's self-replicating. It knows it went into your body. Temperature went up, and it's like, are you kidding me? Good morning. Actually, it'd be good morning to you as well. For 2 hours, it can remain in the air after somebody has left the room.
As long as it's not too cold.
Well, no, it can be hospital cold. They don't say anything about temperature. And then what are the limits of that? Like if you're outside, how does the self-replicating measles, does it get dispersed into the wind? I mean, even if that were to happen, wouldn't it make it worse? Because it would be individual little measle, an individual measle would be flying around and flying up people's noses and shit. Oh, you're gross. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, we don't want you here. You're gross. Jays are the worst. Just the absolute worst. So, Definitely don't need you here. Especially since we know you're too much of a coward to actually answer for any of this shit. Because who am I to have to answer to? I'm just some dumb goyim anyway, right? Just like my dumb goyim audience. God, disgusting.
Michigan, the state of Michigan no longer requires sex offenders to live a certain distance from daycares or schools.
Who made that rule? Who signed that?
I didn't vote on that.
No, you did. You voted for it. You just don't remember.
So
But hey, they found hundreds of millions of wasted spending. They found wasted spending.
that's great. Where's that money? We getting any of that back?
They're thinking about giving us $5,000 checks. You know, they're thinking about it.
Right. For those that file taxes or this or the conditions, because we only got one of those stimulus checks during the whole COVID thing. We didn't get all the multiple checks like everybody else got because we didn't do this or we didn't do this or fucking stupid.
There you go. Experts say no vaccine is foolproof, but it will likely prevent someone from developing complications. Do you hear this? Okay, we got a group of us about to jump out of this plane. Keep in mind, no parachute foolproof, but, you know, some of you are bound to have yours open. So go on, jump. Go on, jump. It's all good. You have a 26% chance of your parachute opening up. That's the fluoride thing. Again, when you start talking about numbers like that, like how could you even possibly test that? That's chance. You know, that's whenever you see any sort of experiment, James Randi especially. The James Randi Memorial Experiment offered $1 million to anyone that could prove they had some sort of psychic abilities. They could look at star charts. They could see Jesus. They could anything. They offered $1 million to anybody who could demonstrate any sort of ESP, anything. You say you can find water with a dowsing rod, fucking A. Anything you say you can come up with, if you can prove it, you know. The James Randi Foundation. You don't know about that, huh? Well, let's take a look real quick. Oh wait, let me just. Oh, this. Does this go on? No, this is almost done. Let's finish this. No, it's foolproof. If you are infected, you can be vaccinated up to 72 hours after exposure, and that has beneficial effects. Do you hear what he just said? He didn't say you could be vaccinated up to 72 hours and you'll be good. It just has beneficial effects. Measles symptoms mimic cold and flu symptoms, and the person can also develop a rash. Call a doctor if you're not vaccinated and think you may have been exposed. What if you are vaccinated? The CDC currently recommends people receive 2 vaccine doses. The first at ages 12 to 15 months, and the second between 4 and 6 years old. 1 dose is 93% effective, and 2 doses are 97% effective. So you're going to have a second dose of poison for a 4% increase. What kind of crazy shit is that? And how could they possibly? It's 93%, 97%. How do they test that? How do they come up with those things? Most vaccinated adults don't need a booster. That's weird. I'm surprised they're not pushing that. Measles was declared eliminated from the U.S. in 2000 due to the highly effective vaccination program, according to the CDC. However, vaccination rates have been lagging in recent years. About 93, we got 93% again. About 93% of kindergartners nationwide received selective routine childhood vaccines, including MMR vaccine, for the 2022-2023 school year, according to the November 2023 CDC report. This is about the same as the previous school year, but lower than the 94% seen in 2021 school year, and the 95% seen in 2019-2020 school year prior to the COVID. The latter percentages had been the standard for about 10 years. So are we saying that something that was declared eliminated in 2000, something that 93% of the people, the next generation, has some sort of protection for, that somehow we're in danger of that still? Do you know how much bullshit that is? All right, so James Randi. Okay, the $1 paranormal challenge was offered by the James Randi Educational Foundation, JREF, to pay out $1 million to any famous person who could demonstrate a supernatural or paranormal ability under agreed upon scientific testing criteria. A version of the challenge was first issued in 1964. Over 1,000 people applied to take it, but none was successful. The challenge was terminated in 2015 because he died. Do you hear? You know you don't want to hear it, but James Randi developed the idea for the challenge during a radio panel discussion when a parapsychologist challenged him to put his money where his mouth is. In 1964, Randi offered a $1,000 prize, soon increasing it to $10,000. Later, Lexington Broadcasting wanted Randi to do a show called the $100,000 Psychic Prize. So they added $90,000 to the original $10,000 raised by Randi. Finally, in 1996, one of his friends, internet pioneer Rick Adams, donated $1 million for the prize. The prize is sometimes referred to in the media as the Randi Prize. By April 1st, 2007, only those who had an already existing media profile and the backing of a reputable epidemic were allowed to apply for the challenge.
So right? It started when? 2007?
1964.
Oh, 1964.
1964. I think Uri Geller was one of the main reasons. You know, the fake J piece of shit psychic who made zillions of dollars lying to people. And so I guess in April 2007 they stopped saying any dumbass who pretends to, because can you imagine how many people they had to go, okay, yep. Has anybody seen these scientific phenomenon that you're talking about? No. Is this documented? No. But you can do what now? Yeah, okay. I mean,
so any sort of paranormal
anything. So in April 2007, only those with an already existing media profile and the backing of a reputable academic were allowed to apply for the challenge. It was hoped that the resources freed up by not having to test obscure and possibly mentally ill claimants would then be used to challenge high-profile alleged psychics and mediums such as Sylvia Browne and John Edward with a campaign in the media. Remember John Edward? The guy who would talk to the dead people just like Sylvia Browne. The thing, so this is a noble act. This is a really good thing. Because, you know, he would always talk about, like, his main motivation was all the people that were getting fleeced by people like Sylvia Browne and James Edward. who charge people thousands and thousands of dollars for their psychic advice. And you know,
how did she pull it off? I don't remember. It came out.
How did she pull what off? She was just a dead talk to dead people thing. There was no pulling anything off.
No, she had plants.
Well, yeah, there's the standard plants and shit like that. But as far as like, you know, it's easy to do. That's the thing people don't like to talk about. It's fucking easy to do. And I've done it. I literally did it on my Facebook feed one day. Because Christy Moreno was running around telling people she could talk to dead people. She could talk to dead people through Facebook. Like, she would be on Facebook and you would be on Facebook. And she wouldn't even have to be live with you in some situations. But she could talk to to a dead person that you didn't even know. Like it was such a joke, right? So I went live one day and said, all right, I'll do it. You know, anybody want a psychic reading? And this random guy was like, I'll do it. And I could, you know, and he was like keen for it. You could just tell. And these are the easy mark, you know. When Christy Moreno first revealed her magic powers to us, I was like, oh, really? Well, I don't necessarily think you can, but I don't believe you can't until I see that you can't. So why don't you do it to me? Do it to me. Like, give me a psychic reading. And she was like, it doesn't really want to work with you right now, but I'm getting a message for your wife, who had just happened to have a grandmother die 3 weeks earlier or some shit that she knew about. But so I said, you know, okay, I'm going to do it. Here, you know, who needs a reading? Some guy, I do. I say, okay, so you want to talk to you know, I'm getting a message from a family member, a female family member who you were really close with. And he was like, my sister. Yep. And is there like an M in her name or something like that? He was like, her name's something started with M. He's like, and I said a few, and I was like, and she died sort of tragically. How did you fucking know all this? Dude, because you're young. You're desperate for the reading. When I said it was a female that was close to you, and it was tragic, you know, your mom's not going to be tragic. It's going to be old lady, whatever. But your sister, now that's tragic. Like, I even explained what I was doing the whole time. And the guy insisted that I actually should probably try getting into this, because it's not me doing what I'm saying I'm doing. I have a gift. That guy believed I had a gift when I was literally telling him how I was doing it. Anyway, on January 4th, 2008, it was announced that the prize would be discontinued on March 6th, 2010, in order to free the money for other uses. In the meantime, claimants were welcome to vie for it. One of the reasons offered for the discontinuation is the unwillingness of higher profile claimants to apply, which says everything. You know, you claim to be XYZ super psychic. You're already making good money doing what you're doing, but you could make an additional $1 million plus, have literally the best free media campaign anyone could ever hope for. You know what? Let's reset. Pedophiles, kill yourself.